Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another Draft Expert YouTube video. I hope you all have had a fantastic week, ladies and gentlemen. We are at Conference Championship week. Isn't that insane? And I know I kind of do this thing every single week where it goes like, oh my God, can you believe we're in XYZ moment of the season, stuff like that. But it is hard to believe, isn't it? Like, I might say it a lot, but man, I'm trying to talk myself into accepting the fact that college football, the regular season's done. The regular season is done and dusted. We are entering Conference Championship weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to find out the final rankings for the college football playoff. We are about to find out who's coming home with the Heisman Trophy. There's so much stuff happening right now, and my brain's not ready for it all to end. It's gonna go like that, and then we're gonna have the freaking college football national championship and stuff like that. It's gonna go by so damn quick, and I'm not mentally prepared for that. I'm not. But it's one of those things as well where I shouldn't be crying because it's over. I should smile because it happened, because this has been a very fun college football season. It's been a very unpredictable season, especially when you look back to preseason stuff and stuff like that. It's been very unpredictable, and that's fun. That's fun. It's also semi-infuriating with some aspects of it, but that's neither here nor there. Before we get into anything, though, let's go over the housekeeping items first. Make sure to check out all the links down in the description below. You can follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Those links will all be down below. Most importantly, make sure to check out the blog post on the LoganBlackmanShow.com. There'll be a more in-depth analysis on that rather than what you're going to hear on here. I'm going to talk about each quarterback. I'm going to talk about the honorable mention section. We're going to go over each thing that they did throughout their respective games this past weekend, but there are going to be more in-depth stuff on the blog post. There's also going to be videos as well, but there's going to be videos on here as well, but you'll know more in depth. I don't know. Just go and check out the blog post, but also make sure to leave a comment down below on why you feel the way you do, whether you love the rankings, hate the rankings, feeling different about them, what you would change about them, what your rankings look like, all that great stuff. Let me know down in the comment section below, but most importantly, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and give the video a thumbs up if you're already enjoying it. But if you're not that trusting individual, I understand that. That's completely fair. Wait till the end of the video to give it a thumbs up, and I will remind you to do so at the very end. So make sure to do that as well. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is, again, the final week of the regular season. This is the final week of the regular season. It was rivalry week and all that great stuff, and we had some great matchups. We had some good performances this past weekend as well, but it also stirred up a conversation that we've had a couple times throughout the course of the season in regards to, is this quarterback draft class a disappointing draft class? And if you want, you can look at this from two completely different avenues here. On one hand, if you were looking at everybody's preseason rankings, and you'd see the likes of Arch Manning, Lenoris Sellers, Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, Sam Levitt, guys like that, then yeah, maybe in a roundabout way, it is a disappointing class. But if you're looking at the talent of the guys that are now in the top tier of this quarterback class, you can't really say it's a quote-unquote disappointing class, because I would say the top three guys are guys that you could feel very comfortable drafting in the top 10. Now, there's going to be differing opinions on what the order is for the top three and which guys should come back, because guys I'm going to spoil this for you, like Dante Moore or Ty Simpson have a limited number of starts throughout their college football career. This is Ty Simpson's real first time starting in college football. And sure, he is a lot further along than a lot of other quarterbacks that are entering this time period that have had this little starts, which I think bodes well for him in the NFL. But those questions about the number of starts that he has will weigh heavy come the draft process if he does end up deciding to come out. But it might not be the guys you thought it would be at the beginning of the season, because there's not going to be a lot of people out there that really had Ty Simpson and Dante Moore near the top of this draft class. Fernando Mendoza was a guy that got consideration of being the number one guy, or at least a top three guy in the class prior to the season starting. I think preseason we had him at number 6, and he did some really good things at Cal. The Miami game was one of the more fun games last year, where him and Cam Ward kind of went back and forth the entire time. Miami obviously came out on top in that game, but Fernando Mendoza was a name that got mentioned when the draft process initially started. He might not have been a consensus top tier guy, but for me and a few other people out there, he was a guy that you could really see being a first round guy, even though he wasn't up there at the same level of hype as Manning or Aller or Sellers or all those guys. So he's not that surprising, but Moore and Simpson, I don't think anybody would have expected those two to be at where they are right now. Like the last time we saw Dante Moore starting meaningful college football games was at UCLA, where he was splitting reps with Ethan Garbers and just looking completely lost out there. In regards to Ty Simpson, they tried to give him chances to win the starting job, and he just never took advantage of that. And Jalen Milroe came in with the athleticism and stuff like that, took hold of the starting job. Was he consistent? No. But he added that running ability that you could kind of look past some of the inconsistencies with him as a passer and go like, okay, we can do something here. Like, Ty Simpson, I believe, started against USF in that Monsoon Bowl a few years ago. It was either Ty Simpson or Tyler Buchner. I can't remember which one it was, but Alabama barely won that game. And I believe that was his last start. I believe, prior to the season starting. And then the first game of the year against Florida State, like after that game, if you would have sat there after that Florida State game, and someone said, hey, this guy's going to be a top 3 guy in this draft class by the end of the season, you'd have probably looked at that person and said, you are freaking insane. That's not going to happen. Alabama just got beat by Florida State, who won 2 games last year. And you're going to sit here and tell me that the guy who quarterbacked that Alabama team is going to be a guy that we're talking about is not only a top 3 guy in the class, but a potential top 10 pick in this year's draft? Yeah, you're crazy. But that's what's so fun about this college football season, because it's been that unpredictable. So again, I would not call this quarterback class disappointing with the overall talent, but you could definitely call it disappointing from the aspect of the guys that we were thinking would be at the top of the draft class prior to the season starting are no longer there. And we'll get into, like, out of those 6 guys that I mentioned before, so that was Manning, Sellers, Aller, Klubnik, Levitt, and Nussmeier. Out of those 6 guys, those were Field Yates from ESPN. Those were his top 6 guys prior to the season starting. And the reason I bring up Field Yates is one, because that's the graphic that's been going around social media the past couple days, or the past couple weeks, I guess I should say. And we'll talk about that again once we break into the top 10, but I want to go over the honorable mention section first. And the first honorable mention section is Trinidad Chambliss. This is not anything based on what he did this past week, because Trinidad Chambliss in the Egg Bowl, 23 of 34, 359, 4 touchdowns, no picks, with 26 yards on the ground as well, in a 38-19 win. And if you've paid attention to the Egg Bowl in recent years, it is a game where stats don't really matter. You're not really going to put up some insane stats, at least from the quarterback position. That's what recent years have suggested. And Trinidad Chambliss put up some insane numbers, and he's put up insane numbers all freaking season long. Reminder, he didn't start the first 2 games of the season against Georgia State and Kentucky. He didn't start either one of those games. In those 2 games, he went 4 for 6, 59 yards, 1 touchdown. The only time he made an appearance against Kentucky was when he was running the ball and had 13 yards rushing in that game. So he's played 10 games up to this point in the season. In that 10-game stretch, he threw for over 300 yards against Arkansas, Tulane, LSU. He threw for over 300 yards against Oklahoma, Citadel, which is whatever, Florida, and Mississippi State. So in 10 games, 7 of those, he threw for over 300 yards passing. This is a guy that was a D2 transfer from Ferris State that nobody knew of prior to the season starting. We knew who Austin Simmons was because we saw him in that little cameo appearance against Georgia when Jackson Dart went down with the ankle injury. And ironically, that's the same injury that allowed Trinidad Chambliss to take the starting job from Austin Simmons. And Chambliss has been awesome. He's a good athlete. He's got a plus arm. He's not the biggest dude in the world, and he's very raw. His footwork's very raw. But he's got a big arm for how big he's listed at. I don't think he's 6'1", 200 pounds. I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit. I don't think he's that. I think he's probably about 5'10". But hey, I'm not bashing him for that. I'm not bashing all my short kings out there. I'm not doing that. But he's not the biggest guy out there in the world. And he is raw. And the reason I have him in the honorable mention section, you're going to realistically put him up close to the top 5 after this week's performance against Mississippi State. Again, 359 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, no picks. That's his highest touchdown total of the season, and I just dropped him out of the rankings completely. So the reason why I have him out of the top 10 rankings is only because I'm pretty confident that he's going to go back to school. I have no real reason. I don't have any sources or anything. And I know he's got a waiver that he's waiting to hear back from. But with Chambliss, it just feels like that's what's going to happen. I don't have any real reasoning behind it other than I just think it's going to happen. I think he's going to transfer to LSU this offseason, go to Lane Kiffin, be in conversation for the Heisman Trophy next year, and then be a potential first-round draft pick next year. That's what my gut tells me at this point in time. Now, that all depends on whether or not he gets approved with his waiver to go back to school, but you rarely see times where a player submits a waiver to appeal their eligibility for next season. It's very rare, at least in how far as I can tell, it's very rare that they get turned down with that, if that makes sense. So would I be surprised if he comes out this year and goes to the NFL draft? No, and if he does that, then he'll be surely back in the top 10. But right now, I just have a feeling that he's going to go back to school. I mean, freaking Lane Kiffin, Mr. Social Media himself, and you can go listen to my opinions about Lane Kiffin in the podcast, again, down in the link description. A link is down in the description below, so you can hear what I say about it. But even Lane Kiffin on social media is posting pictures of the Trinidad and Tobago flag. Like, I know he's not from Trinidad and Tobago, but his name is Trinidad, so it's kind of like just the natural thing you do. There's an emoji. Oh, Trinidad? Okay, Trinidad Chambliss. So we can kind of connect the dots here. Again, I'm pretty confident that he's going to get approved with his waiver and that he's going to transfer to LSU. I could be completely wrong in that, and if I am, awesome. Awesome. And if he gets back, if he puts his name in the NFL draft, then he will be back in the top 10. But that's the only reason why he's not in there. The only reason. It has nothing to do with play. That's the only reason he's not in there. But also in the honorable mention section, we have Nico Iamaleava, 27-38, 200 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 15 yards on the ground, and a 29-10 loss to USC. Yeah. He didn't put up, like, insane number. I mean, I always have a hard time looking at, like, if you throw the ball 38 times, I'm really hoping that you throw for more than 200 yards. I'm hoping that at that point you're pushing upwards of 300 yards. That's kind of like the bare minimum. Even if you, especially when you're completing 27 of those 38 passes, that just tells us that there are a decent amount of short, intermediate passes in there. And that's kind of been the story of his season. He only has 1,900 yards passing on the season, 13 touchdowns, 7 picks. Also, he has 505 yards rushing on the season as well. A lot of talent, just not as consistent, and that's what you were going to get at UCLA. We said that before the season started. I didn't think that this was a place where he was going to fully reach his potential because I didn't have the highest hopes on UCLA, especially given what we saw last year. I know they brought in Tino Sinceri, and you have Neuheisel there, but that was about it. That was like all I had to go off of, like, oh, I don't think he's going to be great, but I think his talent will show through at times, and that's been the case, especially with his running ability, but overall, it just hasn't been, like, insane. But he can still make great plays. He's still a very good player. It's just a matter of finding that consistency at this level before we can start putting him in the top 10 conversations. Next on here, Diego Pavia, 18-28, 268, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 165 yards on the ground with a touchdown in a 45-24 win over Tennessee. Depending on who you ask, one of the Heisman favorites at this point in time. I can't even be mad at that at this point. A couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I was sitting here going like, I don't get the Pavia hype because at that point in time, that was around the LSU game, the Missouri game. He wasn't playing great, but he was still getting Heisman Trophy talks. Like, if you went on social media after the LSU and Missouri games, there were people talking about how he should win the Heisman Trophy. He didn't play good in either one of those games, but both teams were top 25 teams, so when they won the games, it's like, oh, that's a Heisman winner right there. But these past few weeks against Texas, Kentucky, against Auburn, against Tennessee, he has balled out. And now I consider him one of the favorites to win the Heisman Trophy when a month ago, I wouldn't have even thought about it. And it kind of depends on who you ask between him, Julian Sayin, and Fernando Mendoza. And you can throw Jeremiah Love in there as well. If you want to throw in Rodriguez from Texas Tech as a little hipster pick, that's cool too. Do what you want. I would honestly give Trinidad Chambliss more love. I can't believe he's not getting more love than what he is. I mean, this is an 11-1 football team, and he's thrown over 300 yards 7 times in 10 starts. Like, I feel like Trinidad Chambliss should be getting a lot more involved in these conversations for the Heisman Trophy. Hell, Kevin Lacey, the running back for Ole Miss, is another guy that could be talked about in these conversations, but he hasn't really. But again, you can check out what my opinions on the Heisman Trophy race are in the description below. You can check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that great stuff. But Pavia comes in the honorable mention section. Sawyer Robertson's next. 23 of 46, 309, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 13 yards rushing, and a 31-24 loss to Houston. Sawyer Robertson is going to throw the piss out of the ball every single time. He's just not the most consistent passer in the world. He's just not. And Baylor's a team that likes to throw the ball down the field. They'll throw a lot of screen passes in there. Got a lot of speedy receivers in there. Michael Trigg's one of the best tight ends in all of college football. But Sawyer Robertson's just not consistently that guy. And Baylor was a team that you could kind of consider one of the bigger disappointments in college football. I'm not going to sit here and act like I had them going to a national championship or anything, but given how they ended last season on that like 8-game win streak or something like that, with Sir Robertson coming in to replace Daquan Finn, and then obviously they got blown out in the bowl game against LSU, but that was more of a talent discrepancy thing there. But I had thought Baylor, given the players they brought back, that they could be a team that challenges for a Big 12 title. But the Big 12 this year, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, is a conference that really does a good job at eating itself. And Baylor finishing 5-7 was not something I really expected prior to the season starting. They finished 5-7, 3-6 in conference play. They lost their last 3 games, and have they been close? Some of them, like Houston was a close game, TCU was a close game, Arizona State was a close game, Auburn was a close game in spurts week 1 of the season. But you look at games against Arizona, Utah, Cincinnati, they got blown out in those games. Robertson struggled in all those games, but he comes in an honorable mention section. Lenore Sellers, the final one. After listening to his press conference, I'm more sure that he's going to transfer, or at least he's staying in school. Wherever that is, whether it's at South Carolina or he's transferring out, I don't know. But he comes into the honorable mention section, 381 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Also had 2 yards rushing in the game in a 28-14 loss to Clemson, 2,400 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 picks on the season with 270 yards rushing with 5 touchdowns. Those rushing yards, I hate this with college football, and I've talked about this 1,000 times before. I hate how college football counts sacks for rushing yards. I absolutely hate that. I think it's absolutely stupid, especially in the case of Sellers. When you watch a South Carolina football game, there are times where he has little to no time to do anything except for take a sack. And because he's bigger than a lot of people on the football field and more athletic than a lot of people on the football field, he tries to fight for extra yards, which in turn causes him to take bigger sacks, longer sacks, and sometimes that leads him to turning the ball over as well, whether it be a fumble or an interception because he's trying to do too much. That's where you got to kind of figure things out with Lenore Sellers. And if he comes out, cool, because it's one of those things, again, where you kind of have to stack yourself up against the quarterback class that you'll be going out in. Whether it's this year or next year, which one do you think you have the best chance at being a first-round draft pick? Like Anthony Richardson had to do the same thing when he was at Florida. Would you rather compete with Bryce Young and Will Levis and CJ Stroud, or would you compete with Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix? Because Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy were not guys, J.J. McCarthy more so than Daniels prior to the season starting, as being guys talked about as potential first-round draft picks. Would you rather compete with 3 guys or 4 to 5 guys? That's where you kind of get in an interesting spot there. Would you be a 4th overall pick in this year's draft, or would you be more likely to be a top pick in next year's draft? You have to weigh out all your options here. It also depends on what you did in college as well. If you've won a national championship and you feel like there's nothing more you can do, then go to the NFL. That's fine. But you also run the risk of tanking your draft stock even more by not coming out. Like, prime example for this year's draft class is Drew Aller. Drew Aller was a guy that ended the season. I mean, the playoff games were not great. Like Boise State, he wasn't the greatest. He made some good throws in that game. Notre Dame, he was not very good. SMU, he didn't need to do a whole lot in that game because the defense was all over Kevin Jennings that entire time. But that Big Ten championship game put a lot of people on notice for him in the draft. And there were a lot of conversation of him being a top 10 pick in last year's draft because of the performances that he had at the end of the season. He decided to go back to school, said they're going to win a national championship, and then they lose to UCLA, they lose to Northwestern, and he breaks his ankle. And now we don't know what Drew Aller's draft stock is really looking like at this point because now he has to go. He can't come back for another year. 3rd year as a starter, and you didn't take that other step because even before he hurt his ankle, even before the losses to Oregon, UCLA, Northwestern, he didn't look very good in the FCS games that they played. Against Villanova, he didn't play great. Against Nevada, he didn't play very good. Like, he didn't play at Florida International. He did not look great in any of those 3 games to start the season. Like, just being honest here, and this is from someone who loves Drew Aller, but those 3 games at the beginning of the year where you're expecting to, like, show why you're considered one of the top quarterbacks in college football, and he just didn't do that. So going from a top 5 pick, potentially, to we don't know where you're going, that's the risk you run by staying out another year or staying in school another year. But you can also take that year to develop, and then you can become that top-tier guy. You can always do that. Like, who knows? Like, next year's class, this is what you got to weigh it up, because you got Arch Manning's going to be in next year's class. He could technically come out this year, but I highly doubt it. Julian Saint's going to be in next year's class. CJ Carr, is going to be in next year's class. Like, there's quarterbacks in this year's class could also come back as well. Like, Dante Moore could come back. Ty Simpson could come back. There's quarterbacks you're going to have to be competing with next year that maybe you just sit and wait and figure out what the rest of this class is going to look like and then decide your future. But so I don't know. In my opinion, he should go back to school. But I think he's still insanely talented. And I think if he should come out this year, I do think there's a chance he'd be a first-round draft pick, even though this overall season for Lenore Sellers wasn't that great. I do still think there's a chance. I do still think he has enough credit in the bank to warrant being a first-round draft pick. Would I draft him in the first round this year? If I was a GM, if I had a good structure with a coach and GM that I trusted, then yeah, I would probably do it, because the ceiling is there. The talent is there. We can see the talent. It's just a matter of maturizing that and getting him to reach his full potential there. But if I'm an unstable organization and I'm not sure about my coach and GM's future, then I'm definitely not drafting him in the first round, because that's just setting him up for failure. We just cannot do that. And I also want to reiterate this, and I've said this before, do not draft him thinking you're drafting Josh Allen. That's the thing you got to be careful with as well. You cannot draft these insanely raw prospects and think you're drafting the next Josh Allen when that's not normal. Josh Allen is not something that happens every single day. Actually, it's only happened once in NFL history, and it was Josh Allen, where a quarterback's coming in that raw and has turned into being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, who has broken numerous all-time records, who's going to keep extending records. I mean, he just broke Cam Newton's quarterback rushing touchdown record last week against the Steelers. That record's going to be untouchable by the time he's done. And there's going to be even more records on top of that. That's not normal. The 49ers tried to do it with Trey Lance. When Kyle Shanahan wanted to draft Mac Jones, the organization would say draft Trey Lance because he's got a higher ceiling. The Colts tried to do that with Anthony Richardson. Like, it's not normal what Josh Allen has done or what he's doing now. So don't draft him thinking you're doing that. Like, you can get a raw quarterback and turn him into something, but if your expectations are that's the problem with right now, is that there's a lot of what have you done for me lately type. There's very little room for patience in the NFL. And I could kind of point that all the way back to Justin Herbert during his rookie year, because how good he was right off the gate, breaking damn every single rookie passing record. And then CJ Stroud did what he did his rookie year. Then you got Jane Daniels doing what he did last year. There's less room for error with quarterback position. There's not that room for development right now. You need to be good right now. Otherwise, we're going to move on from you, because we want to keep our jobs. I would love to give you the chance to prove yourself, but I want to keep my job as well. Colts did that bringing in Daniel Jones this offseason. Like, that's what happens. If you're not good right off the jump, we're going to replace you. It doesn't help that Anthony Richardson tapped himself out against the Texans. That kind of sped up the process as well. But they drafted him knowing he was raw and then replaced him in 2 years, because there's that little room for error nowadays. There are big plays in there, some great throws in there, but there are also some boneheaded plays in there as well. So you can't draft somebody thinking you're drafting Josh Allen, because that's not normal. So don't set yourself up for that. If you think you can develop him and turn him into something good, then do it. But if you don't have faith in your organization or your coaching staff or your support system, if there's not a quarterback in place there already that he can sit behind and learn from, then don't do it. And I think, again, it just depends on what he thinks the draft class will look like this year and what the draft class will look like next year, which one he's going to battle up against. But number 10 on this list is Cade Klubnik. And this is what I was talking about before with the disappointment of the quarterback draft class. Cade Klubnik on Field Yates' preseason rankings was the third overall quarterback. Not only that, though, he was a third overall prospect in the draft. I was never that high on Cade Klubnik. I had him at 5 in my quarterback prospect rankings, but there were people talking about him being a potential first overall pick and stuff like that. And I kept saying that I think Klubnik is kind of what he is. I think he's a good athlete. I think he's got a good arm, but nothing wows me with Klubnik. But I think he's consistently good, and I think you could look at him and go like, oh yeah, I could draft him late in the first round, early second round, and I could build something there. especially if he builds on the season that he had last year. He had 36 passing touchdowns last year as Clemson won the ACC title. And this year, the expectation was to go a step further and challenge for a national championship. And they're going to moonwalk through the ACC schedule this year and going to be a dominant team with all these potential first-round talents on their roster. That you look at Terrell, you look at Parker, you look at Woods, you look at Antonio Williams, you look at Klubnik. There's a lot of talent here on this Clemson team that you could look at and go, oh yeah, that's a national championship contender. Lose to LSU week 1. Okay, that can happen. LSU, at that time, we're like, oh, that's a good team. It's a top 10 team as well. They have Garrett Nussmeier, one of the top quarterbacks in the country. But then you almost lose to Troy. That's where the panic started arising there. They were losing to Troy in that game by quite a bit, and Klubnik threw a pick 6 in that game. It was an unfortunate pick 6, but a pick 6 nonetheless. And you start worrying more and more about Clemson. They get beat by Georgia Tech. Then they get blasted by Syracuse. You're like, oh shit. What the hell is happening here? And they just kept going down and down. And then they started building back up. And you get wins against Boston College and North Carolina. You beat up on the bottom feeders there. But then you lose to Duke in a questionable loss in there. And then you also lose to, who was the other team they lost to in there? Right before Duke. They lost another game in there. But I cannot remember. But regardless, so you're struggling. You're at 5-5. Or something. No, not 5-5. You're below 500. But then you rattle off a win against Louisville. You beat Furman, which is what you'd expect. And you beat South Carolina, who beat you last year. Now, granted, both teams were better last year, but you beat South Carolina in Columbia, which I think is a massive win for them. 7-5 on the regular season. Now, anywhere close to what their expectations were. But hey, given how the season started, you'll take 7-5. And Klubnik in this game, 24-39, 268, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick. Also had a 3-yard rushing touchdown in there as well. Klubnik may not have had a passing touchdown in the interception. It wasn't great. He was trying to hit Adam Randall out of the backfield, who beat his defender. He motioned out of the backfield, runs a little wheel route. Defender's not ready to cover him. Get kind of caught with the pick. He doesn't get hit, but it kind of throws him off a little bit. And he has Randall with about a yard or two separation between himself and the defender. And one of those things that you hear from if you're a quarterback is don't miss him. If a receiver has a step on a defender, just don't miss him. Or a step or two. Because he's open, just don't miss him. And more often than not, you'll hear coaches say, take a little bit off of it, because you can always slow down. You can't always speed up when you reach top speed. It's impossible to reach top speed if you go faster than your top speed. So he takes some off of it, but way too much off of it. And Kilgore for South Carolina makes a great interception, leaping interception over Randall, or not over Randall, but in front of Randall. Skies up to get it, brings it down to the end zone for the interception. Just an unfortunate play. But the first play of the game, you get a 25-yard completion to TJ Moore, and it's a very nice play, like a little rub that you have in there, nice little pick play in there. Moore goes around the outside, and you have two defenders in the near side. Defender coming over top. Klubnik does a really good job of just putting it on him for a 25-yard gain. And though he didn't have a touchdown again, I think Klubnik made a good amount of throws to help set Clemson up with scoring opportunities. He had a 26-yard completion to Antonio Williams on third down, where he rolls out to his right, pressure's coming around unevaded from the backside, and he rolls out to his right and throws a really accurate ball to Williams over the top of the defender for a 26-yard gain to get them in the red zone. And I believe that was the drive he had the 3-yard rushing touchdown in. But you look at his 21-yard pass to Turner, again, rolling out to his right. Turner's along the sideline, fires it back shoulder to Turner, does a nice job at adjusting, coming back to the ball, securing the catch, also fighting for a little extra yards, even though he ends up getting stood up by the South Carolina defender. But Klubnik overall, in the first half and early portion of the second half, because the fourth quarter, late third quarter, they didn't do anything on offense. They did absolutely nothing. They got a couple field goals. Defense came away with the touchdown. You got a 2-point conversion in there as well. Klubnik, I believe, hit Randall out of the backfield. You made some good plays in there. Overall, it wasn't an amazing performance. But again, I think he did enough to put them in spots to succeed in this game, minus the interception. Sometimes it's not all about the touchdowns here. And we talked about that with Ty Simpson a couple weeks ago when they played Eastern Illinois. He might not have had a touchdown in that game, but there were a couple times in that game where his passes led Alabama down to the 1-yard line or the 2-yard line, and they would punch it in the end zone in the next play via the run game. They didn't necessarily do that here, But Klubnik got them into spots where they could at least settle for field goals because they had to settle for a good amount of field goals in this game. Like, that's what sometimes you have to do. It's not like the prettiest performance of all time. Like, 24-39 is not the greatest completion percentage of all time. But I thought he played all right. And I think he still warranted a spot coming in at number 10. But out of all those preseason guys that we talked about, he's the only one in this top 10. The only one in the top 10, which is sad. But that doesn't make it any less, more or less disappointing here. But number 9 is Josh Hoover from TCU. 19 of 22, 306, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Josh Hoover and TCU have been in a really weird spot these past 4 weeks prior to this game. Like, we always joke about the Big 12 eating itself, but TCU is a good football team. They just are. They've got a good quarterback with some good weapons on the outside. McAllister's a good receiver. Dwyer's a good receiver. Like, they have good players, but for whatever reason, the offense wasn't clicking at all. In these 4 weeks prior to this game against Cincinnati, they scored over 20 points one time. They scored 23 against West Virginia. In that same stretch, Hoover threw 4 touchdowns and I believe had 7 interceptions in a 4-game stretch. And in this game against Cincinnati, he throws for 4 touchdowns, only misses on 3 passes, and throws no interceptions in the game. In an impressive 45-23 win. And what I love about Josh Hoover is that he was pushing the ball down the field the entire game. Like, TCU was pushing the ball down the field. You look at his 12-yard throw to Rodgers. This is a 12-yard throw, but like we talked about with Klubnik, rolling out. Like, the ball, this is what's so fun about this play. And I'm not the biggest advocate for doing this all the time, but when it works, it works. But it is scary when the quarterback drops an insane amount of yards before throwing the ball down the field. Like, the line of scrimmage is at the 17-yard line. Josh Hoover, at the peak of his drop, gets all the way back to the 44-yard line. He lets the ball go from about the 44, 43-yard line. Again, the line of scrimmage is at the 17. He lets the ball go around the 43, 44-yard line and rips it into Rodgers for a 12-yard gain. Like, the throw, it registers as a 12-yard gain. That's it. Even though he threw it about 30 yards in the process. And it gets him a yard short of the first down marker, but they get it easily on the next play. They get a 11-yard rush in there. He gets an easy touchdown there a couple plays later. You get a 17-yard touchdown pass to McAllister later. Really good back shoulder throw. He bobbles it a little bit, but great throw from Hoover. Hoover and McAllister got really good chemistry. And there's a lot of trust in there. And Hoover trusts him more than anybody on this team. And they made a lot of good plays together. Like 15-yard pass to McAllister. Pressure right in his face. McAllister runs a comeback route. And Hoover times this up perfectly, throwing it right as McAllister's exiting his break and puts it right between the numbers and the sideline before the defender can make a play on it. He had a 27-yard pass to McAllister across the middle of the field again later in the drive. Steps up in the pocket, slides to the left a little bit, fires it down the middle of the field. McAllister makes a great hands catch to bring it in for the 27-yard gain. And then he did have I don't know if this counted. I don't know what this counted for. It was a confusing play. So Josh Hoover makes a great throw to Joseph Manjack down the seam. Great throw. Has a nice little window there, puts it accurately on Manjack, who makes the catch, brings it in, is trying to reach out for the end zone around the 5-yard line, and he fumbles the ball. And in the swarm of people trying to recover the ball, Dwyer ends up recovering it. So I don't know what the play ultimately resulted in. I know it resulted in a touchdown, but I don't know if it counted for who it counted for or what it counted for or whatever. But overall, I thought Josh Hoover played a fantastic game. He had a 69-yard touchdown pass to Dwyer as well. Had to underthrew it a little bit, but again, Dwyer came back to it, adjusted well to the ball, had his defender within arm's reach the entire time, made the catch over the defender. Great stuff, but Hoover comes in at number 9. And he could have been higher, but I felt like since he hadn't been in the ranking since week 8, I felt it was nice to just keep him at 9 at this point. But again, great game against Cincinnati. Nice offensive explosion in this game that we didn't see from the previous weeks. Number 8 is John Mateer from Oklahoma. 23 of 38, 318, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, 27 yards on the ground in a 17-13 win against LSU. This game was more difficult than I thought it would be. And I know LSU's got a pretty good defense. I know they got players like Harold Perkins on the defensive side of the ball, but I didn't think, and I know Oklahoma's offense kind of stinks at this point in time, but I didn't expect it to be this close, especially with it being in Norman. Like Oklahoma, if you were looking at Oklahoma's first however many games of the season, this is a shell of that team from the offensive side. Defense is great. The offensive side of the ball, it's a complete shell of itself. In the first 4 games of the season, Josh Hoover threw for over 300 yards and every single time, I think -1. But then he gets the hand injury against Auburn. And then since that point, he only registered 2 200-yard passing games. And those came against Texas and Ole Miss. Against Texas, they lost. I think both games they lost, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly. I'm pretty sure both games they lost. Yeah, the 2 games they lost were the only 2 games post the Auburn game that he threw for over 200 yards in the game because they're losing, so he's got to throw the ball more because you can't run the ball a bunch when you're losing the game because you're trying to get plays back in chunks. And the hand injury was massive. He came back way too early from the hand injury. They were like, this is a multiple month-long injury. And he came back in 2 weeks. They had a game against Kent State and they had a bye week, and then he came back against Texas and threw 3 interceptions, some bad interceptions in that game. And John Mateer, I love for the fact that he is arguably the most aggressive quarterback in college football, but sometimes there's a little too aggressive in there, and he threw 3 picks in this game. His first interception, I'll let him off. Ball got batted at the line of scrimmage. Harold Perkins runs under it, makes an interception, and gets it all the way back down to, I think, the 4-yard line or something. And it didn't matter in the end because Oklahoma's defense would pick off Michael Van Buren on the very next play. So it ultimately didn't matter anything for the game. But the other 2 interceptions, I don't know if I could sit here and go like, oh, yes, I can bail him out on this one. The second one, he locked into Jaren Kanak. He locked into him. He looked to the left for a split second, but wasn't long enough before he flipped back to his right and threw it to Kanak, and the safety just read his eyes the entire time, jumped the route. Which sucked because it came right after a beautiful 29-yard pass to Santanga, who made a great catch through contact, like a great fully extended hands catch, was able to bring it in through contact, and then the very next play, he throws the interception trying to hit Kanak down the middle of the field, trying to get a little too much. And then he gets 3rd interception of the game, again, 28-yard line, trying to push it down the sideline, gets picked off, trying to throw it back shoulder, gets picked off. You could, if you wanted to, you could make an argument that the receiver should have worked harder back for the ball. If you wanted to. I'm not saying I'm doing that, but if you wanted to, you could sit there and go, the receiver should have worked harder backwards. And he didn't. And the defender made a very easy interception. Trying to throw it back shoulder, not a great throw. Doesn't help that the throw was behind. I mean, that's what you're looking for, but it was later as well. So it just wasn't a great throw. And the 2 touchdowns that he had in this game as well were walk-in touchdowns where they really didn't have any real issue. Like his first touchdown was a 58-yard passing touchdown to Deion Burks. Like if I just say that sounds like, oh my God, a 58-yard passing touchdown to Deion Burks. The problem is that the passing touchdown, it was behind the line of scrimmage. Or at 48, I think it was 48 yards, maybe not 50. 45 yards, sorry, not 58. 58 was the Santanga one, I believe. Yeah, so he had a 45-yard passing touchdown to Deion Burks, sorry. It was a screen pass. That Deion Burks took 45 yards to the score. And his touchdown to Santanga was complete busting coverage. Single high safety goes to the left side. Santanga runs down the middle of the field unevaded, and Mateer hits him wide-ass open for the really easy walk-in touchdown. Like, it doesn't really get much easier than that. It's like 3 interceptions, 318 yards and 2 touchdowns is awesome. But when you look at the touchdown to see one was a screen pass, and the other one, Santanga was wide-ass open, and 3 interceptions, one of them I'll let him off on with the padded ball, but the other 2, I'm not going to let him off on. And I think he made some good throws. Like he had a 30-yard pass to Gibson in there as well, where he steps on the pocket well through pressure, drives it to Gibson across the middle of the field, who's able to make a defender miss for a 30-yard gain. He had a 16-yard pass to Helms as well, rolling out to his left, firing it across the middle of the field against his body, through traffic as well, to get it to Helms for a 16-yard gain. Like, he made some good plays throughout the course of the game. He had a 27-yard pass to Gibson in there as well. Like, he made plays. He made plays. John Mateer is a playmaker. John Mateer is a gamer, and he wants to do anything he can to get his team points, but sometimes that aggressiveness hurts. And this is a game where it did that because barring the first interception, the other 2 interceptions came in LSU territory. So there's chances you get points. It might not be touchdowns, but there's points taken off the board potentially. So I'm not guaranteeing the kicker would have made the field goals or anything, or they would have scored touchdowns there. But the interception doesn't help anything. So I dropped him down to 8, but I think he's really talented. It's just he's sometimes too aggressive for his own good. And if I don't want to coach that out of him, I don't want to sit here and go like, oh, someone needs to tell him to stop being so aggressive. That's what got him to this point. But there is a certain level to where you can kind of tone it down a tiny bit. I'm not saying wipe it out completely, but tone it down a little bit because it can hurt. And thankfully for him, Oklahoma has a very good defense. So they're able to not hurt him as much or hurt the team as much as they would have had he been playing for a different team. Like, that's the long and short of it. So 3 interceptions. It's the second game of the season with 3 picks. The other one was the Texas game. So it just needs to tone it down slightly. Again, I want to reiterate this. Not coaching it out of him completely, but just toning down on it for his own sake. But then number 7 is Carson Beck. Carson Beck put up a really good performance. 23 of 29, 267, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a 38-7 win over Pittsburgh. Miami is a 10-2 team. They are the highest-ranked ACC team in the country, and yet they are not playing in the conference championship game. I do not understand how the ACC works with their conference championship game and stuff like that, what their rules are compared to everybody else, because it makes no sense to me. But we'll talk about that here again in a little bit. But Miami, right now on the outside looking in at the playoff, I think when the playoff rankings come out, I do think they'll be fine in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't matter where they're at now. What matters is that they're in striking distance. So I know there's going to be people that are all pissy that they're not in there. I do think when it's all said and done, they will get their spot in the top 12 rankings. And reminder, the top 12 in the college football playoff is not rankings. Like, those aren't the 12 teams. That's not where they're ranked. And we'll talk about that again here in a little bit. But Miami, good win, dominant win. Pitt's a very weird team. I mean, they got blown out by Notre Dame at home, and they blow out Georgia Tech on the road. Like, they're a very odd team. But Miami just came in there and just absolutely had their way with them. And Carson Beck, the only negative I have about Carson Beck, other than sometimes his attitude's not great, is that he can, on his deep balls, he puts a lot of air under them. A lot of air. And he already doesn't have, like, the most insane arm in the world. So the ball kind of sails on him a little bit and, like, falls backwards a little bit. It wasn't that much on display here, but there were a couple times where I looked at and, like, I know you're, again, like we talked about earlier with Klubnik, is that when a receiver has a step, you don't want to miss him, so you're better off to throw it short than long. But sometimes there's a little bit too much loft on it where it's kind of, the receivers are always slowing down for it. And again, it wasn't fully on display here, but I do want to point that out on why he's not higher given the numbers that I just said. And like, you look at some of his throws that he made in this game. His throw to Malachi Toney, who Malachi Toney is awesome. And we've known that the entire year. Malachi Toney's awesome. And I love that Miami's been using him as a thrower as well because he played quarterback in high school. I love that they're using him as throwing the ball. He had another passing touchdown in this game. Like, he had a 19-yard, he had a one-handed catch, which Beck, great throw to Malachi Toney. 19-yard pass from Beck to Toney. Toney makes a great one-handed catch. Let your playmakers make plays. That's exactly what happened. Toney's went up for it, brought it down one-handed, made the nice catch. You have a 22-yard passing touchdown to Malachi Toney later in the game as well, getting him on the touchdown run, Beck on the touchdown train. And this one, Toney's out of the backfield. They're using Toney in every single way imaginable, which is what you need to do when you have a player as skilled as Toney. It doesn't matter if he's a true freshman or not. You have a player as skilled as him, use him in every single way you can, because he's that dude. And he comes out of the backfield, comes in motion, comes out of the backfield, and they run a little pick play, and it works beautifully. Frees up Toney easy 22-yard passing touchdown for Beck on that one. He gets a nice little touchdown, or nice 33-yard pass to Bauman, which this one, did I really need to highlight it? Probably not, because it's just a little short dink pass. Like, the ball travels like 6 yards past the line of scrimmage into a 33-yard gain, but I like that Beck was able to get the ball out quick. And I know that was the play design. I know there was a setup screen. There's 2 free rushes on there, so he has to get the ball out quick. But sometimes quarterbacks can panic there. And sometimes they'll overshoot the ball, or they'll throw it at his feet or something because they get scared with the defenders in his face. But Beck doesn't. Makes a solid throw in there. Gets a 9-yard touchdown pass to Chamar Brown as well. Steps in the pocket nicely. And the Pitt defense just loses Brown completely. And he tosses it over to his left, steps up nicely, evades pressure, and gets a nice little 9-yard touchdown to him. And then you get a 33-yard touchdown to C.J. Daniels. Again, Daniels beats his defender. Beck throws it up to him. Little underthrown, but again, Daniels makes a nice adjustment to bring it in. His pick, he was just indecisive. I think that's the best I can say about it. he didn't look like he wanted to make this throw. It looked like, oh shit, I shouldn't make this throw. But at the time he was thinking, oh shit, I shouldn't make this throw, he was already throwing it and got literally nothing on it. And it was one of the most tame interceptions I think I've ever seen. Because there's no now it doesn't help that it's 31-7 at that point, but it was a really tame interception. And I think, again, it goes down to the fact that Beck didn't want to throw the ball, but at the time he realized he didn't want to throw the ball was already leaving his hand. So then he just didn't put anything on it. And if he had, it probably would have been intercepted anyways. And if he had, maybe that the defender is able to house it. Who knows? So maybe this was the best case scenario for him here. But Carson Beck comes in at number 7. And again, playoff life's on the line, and we're intrigued to see what they do there. Number 6 is Darian Mensah. The Duke Blue Devils are playing in the ACC Championship game. If you've listened to me talk long enough, you know I love Darian Mensah. And you know I like the Duke football team. But there is no way in hell that Duke should be playing for an ACC championship game. I don't care what the parameters are, or barometer, whatever you want to call it is, for what makes an ACC championship qualifying team. Duke is not that. I know they only have 2 losses in conference play, but as things stand right now, they are the 6th ranked team in the ACC. 6th. Sitting behind SMU or Virginia, who is 7-1, which is also weird because Virginia lost 2 games on the year. One of their losses is to NC State. And their other one is to Wake Forest. But NC State's game wasn't a conference game for some unknown. Again, the ACC makes no sense. Virginia has 2 losses to 2 ACC schools, and they have 1 loss in conference play. I don't know how that. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe there's some really good reason behind it. I don't know what it is. So Virginia, they're 7-1, even though they have 2 losses to 2 ACC schools. But then you have SMU, Miami, Pitt, and Georgia Tech, all above Duke. Those are all the teams above Duke. And yet Duke, at 7-5, is going to the ACC championship game. And I don't know what that's for. I don't know what the tiebreakers are there. I mean, they've scored the most points out of the teams that I've mentioned before them. They scored 290 points. The next closest team is 276, which is Georgia Tech. Or Pitt, sorry. But they're 7-5. And they got beat pretty good by Virginia. And they got beat pretty good by Georgia Tech. And the Georgia Tech game, they kind of just shot themselves in the foot 1,000 times in that game. But we've already talked about that one. But 7-5, I know they're, again, 6-2 in conference play. I understand that. But why and how? I don't get it. I don't get it. And I still don't understand why the NC State thing is a thing with Virginia. I don't know. Maybe I'm not paid enough to understand that. I don't know. But Darian Mensah, 24 for 35, 268, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Better stat line than he's had in the past couple weeks. And he gets a nice little 4-yard touchdown run in the game, which Darian Mensah is a good athlete. He just never runs. He doesn't want to. And I don't blame him. I mean, I've talked about that with Dante Moore before as well. Dante Moore does not like running, really. Because Dante Moore doesn't like getting hit. He makes that abundantly clear. He did not like getting hit. And Darian Mensah has not really run that much this year. I mean, on his total carries, he has 50 carries for negative 53 yards. Again, sacks, why they count in rushing yards, I don't know. But this is a really good rushing touchdown. It was his first rushing touchdown of the season. 3rd and goal. He's keeping his eyes down the field, directing traffic, and dives towards the front pylon to get his first touchdown of the season. Very, very well aware of where the pylon is on that play. So great play by Mensah. He's a 16-yard pass to Brown later on in the second quarter as well, stepping up in the pocket, gets hits Brown right on the 1-yard line, sets up a 1-yard touchdown run from Anderson Castle, gets a nice 30-yard touchdown pass to Higgins in there as well. Slightly underthrown on the play, but again, great job adjusting by Higgins to bring it over to the defender, and he let the defender have it after the play as well. And he gets a 37-yard pass to Barcade as well. Nice little slant throw, or nice little slant play there. Pulls it quick, rips it to Barcade, who gets a 37-yard gain after making the catch. And he has an 11-yard touchdown pass to Hazley as well. Very Duke play. A little pop pass. They've run it about 1,000 times this year. Little motion, fake handoff, pop pass to Hazley in the end zone. Again, they've done it a lot this year. Not necessarily always to Hazley, but they do it a lot. And it's successful, so I can't blame them. This was just a simple game, I guess you could say, for the most part, for Mensah and Duke. 49-32 was the final again. A trip to the ACC championship game against Virginia awaits them. But it was just all right. It was all right. It was better than some of the other recent games that he's had, but it was just an all right game for Mensa. So he comes in at number 6. And number 5, I've got Brendan Sorsby. Brendan Sorsby moving up 3 spots in this list. And Cincinnati kind of upsets me because they are a team that did this last year in regards to, they started off season 5-2. They finished 5-7. And Sorsby's numbers, that back half of the season, started tailing off with Cincinnati struggling as well. This season they start 7-1. Now they're 7-5. They've lost each of their last 4 games. And I'm not sitting here going like, oh, shame on them for losing. They're playing good teams. It's not like they've lost any bad teams. I mean, I expected them to beat Arizona, but Arizona's a good football team. BYU's a good football team. Utah's a good football team, especially in Utah. And TCU is a good football team. And at home, they have proven this season that they are a much better home team than they are a road team. I'm talking about TCU, barring the game against Iowa State. But apart from that, they've been a much better home team than a road team. And Sorsby, unlike last year, though, I would say that in these last 4 games, barring maybe the Utah game, because he was very inconsistent in that game, threw a couple touchdowns in there, but went 11 for 33, made some great throws throughout the course of the game, but wasn't consistent enough in the game overall. So apart from that game, I think against Arizona, against BYU, and against TCU, I think that he has made enough plays to get Cincinnati over the top in these games. I've looked at him and gone like, hey, you're making the plays. The BYU game was a shit show from the special teams department. And then you get a fumble from Goody in the game as well. So like they just gave that game away. But I think Sorsby in that game made enough plays to warrant Cincinnati getting some sort of result in there. And this game, I think, is another example of that. He went 23 of 33, 282 through the air, 3 touchdowns, no picks, with 59 yards on the ground. Had a 41-yard rush in there as well, taking them from their own 11-yard line all the way down to the freaking TCU 48, if I'm not mistaken. And, like, he's a really good athlete. One of the more mobile quarterbacks in this draft class. And he's got a good amount of yards rushing this year. I think on the season he has, what does he have? 580 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns. Like, that's good stuff. Good stuff. He also has 2,800 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, 5 picks. One of the best arms in all of college football. And one thing that's impressive about Sorsby is how much velocity he can put on the football with a very unbalanced base. Like, it's very rare to see a quarterback be able to put that much velocity on a ball when he's not set completely. And you look at his throws to Jennings, 18-yard pass to Jennings. Third drive of the game. They finally get something going. And he gets his first down of the game later on their third drive of the game. First down of the game is on their third drive. And he gets an 18-yard pass to Jennings. Then he's got a 36-yard pass to Pryor. Pryor comes out of the backfield. TCU defense gets lost. We'll call it a busted coverage. And floats in a very nice ball to Pryor for the walk-in touchdown. Then he gets a 14-yard passing touchdown to Caldwell. Looks off the safety to the left. Rips it into Caldwell for the 14-yard score. Caldwell does a really good job at going up and getting it through the contact as well. Then he got a 24-yard pass to Jennings again. Again, it's a nice little slant route. Just rips it in there. Pulls it from the running back. Rips it into Jennings. And then he's got a 40-yard pass to Goody down the sideline on a flea flicker, which I love seeing flea flickers thrown down the field because it's, they've seen a lot of times recently where they're throwing screen passes off of flea flickers, and it pisses me off. And I know that means there's nothing open down the field, but I love seeing them push down the field. Great throw to Goody there as well. Or Cyrus Allen was the one that fumbled against BYU, not Goody. Sorry, Goody. I did not mean to put dirt on your name or anything. It was Cyrus Allen that fumbled that ball. Then 26-yard pass to Reiner. And this play I like. It was a third down, if I'm not mistaken. Him and Tyree Walker, when I say him, I mean Sorsby, go out to the right. Reiner fakes like he's blocking. Or Royer, fakes like he's blocking. And Sorsby rips it to him once he breaks upfield. Really good back shoulder throw. Because, again, there's a defender coming inside. So you got to put on his back shoulder. It's not like your prototypical back shoulder throw. But we'll call it that for the sake of argument here. Then he gets a 35-yard touchdown pass to Allen in there as well. Steps up in the pocket. Floats it perfectly over the top. And Allen makes a very good extended catch. Or full extension to bring the ball in for the score. Like, Sorsby, I think, is a very, very talented quarterback. And I saw something the other day that he's getting some big NIL offers, and I don't know what to believe with all of that stuff anymore about what's true and what's not. I think Sorsby is very good. And a very good athlete, plus arm. At good size, 6'3", 235 pounds. He's a very good player. And I like that. Again, I'm not going to say you're act like he was perfect throughout these last 4 games, but I think, again, he was not the reason Cincinnati was losing these 4 games. I think he did enough to get Cincinnati some points. Very much some points. Maybe not enough to win, but at least give them in scoring opportunities that they just completely faltered on. Again, they had 3 missed field goals against BYU, and Cyrus Allen fumbled in the red zone. If not the red zone, it was damn close to the red zone. Like, there were numerous times Cincinnati could have come away with points, and they didn't. Their record could look a lot different right now than 7-5. But that's where they're at right now. It's Brandon Sorsby comes in at number 5. Jaden Maiava comes in at number 4. Again, really fun quarterback to watch. One of the more effortless throwers in all of college football. 21 of 29, 257, 2 touchdowns, no picks. 10 yards rushing in a 29-10 win against UCLA. Game was a little nervy early on, but they ended up pulling away at the end. But Maiava is such an effortless thrower. Like, he doesn't need to throw from a firm base at all, and he'll just rip it down the field. He's got such a strong arm. I don't know if I would say it comes off like if he rips it like Sorsby does, but from an aspect of him throwing from an unstable base, his accuracy and timing on some of these throws, despite that, is some of the best in all of college football. And you look at that as 10-yard pass to Richardson on 3rd down. Draws the defender offside as well. And he's falling backwards with 3 defenders in his face and just rips it to Richardson. A very accurate ball. On these types of plays, you see a lot of times with this getting jumped, with it being as late as it was, given the fact that he's falling backwards. You see that getting jumped all the time, but it was a very accurate ball and hits Richardson there. He had a 21-yard run in there as well. Absolutely jukes the defender out of his shoes at the line of scrimmage. He got kind of confused with the read because initially it looked like the defender was crashing to go follow the running back, and then he stayed pat. Looked at Maiava. He said, oh shit, got to make a move here. Made a move. Cut up field for a 21-yard gain. Love to see that. He had a 10-yard pass to Walker Lyons in there as well. Well-weighted pass in there. Just floats it in there over the top 2 UCLA defenders for a 1st down on 3rd and 6. And then you look at his pass to Womley, out of the backfield. Defender coming in over top, rips it into him before a defender can make a play on it. Puts it right on his body. Takes a little shot in there, but again, puts it right on his body so he doesn't take an even bigger shot. And then speaking of big shots, Jacoby Lane took a massive hit later in the 3rd quarter. But again, great job holding on the ball. Maiava has complete trust with his wide receivers. And he gets a 33-yard touchdown pass to Mekhi Lemon in there as well. Flat-footed. And he just throws it to a spot. Back shoulder throw. Mekhi Lemon knows he's going to go up and get it. Mekhi Lemon arguably has the best hands in all of college football. So he just puts it in a spot. Mekhi Lemon comes down with it. Touchdown for USC. You get a 28-yard pass to Lane as well. Again, scans the entire field, throws on the back shoulder, or throws it on the comeback, and Lane's able to make the defender miss, turn up field, get a 29-yard gain. Maiava's awesome. And I think out of all the top-tier quarterbacks, I feel like he doesn't get enough mention with these quarterbacks. I think he is comfortably a top 5 quarterback in this draft class at this point in time. Like, ever since that Iowa game, I've looked at Jaden Maiava a whole new way. I think I've said this before, and being an Iowa fan, I think that's the best quarterback performance I've seen against Iowa in a good amount of time. He was great against Iowa, and that was in the same season that saw Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore play Iowa. And I think he was the best out of all of them against Iowa, who's famously got a very good defense, whose secondary has been playing really, really well up to this point in the season. He was just making every single throw. And I think that helps that he has had as much confidence as he does in his wide receivers, whether it's Jacoby Lane, whether it's Mekhi Lemon, whether it's Danook Hines, whether it's anybody's tight ends, Walker Lyons, Lake McCree. It doesn't matter who they are. He has confidence in all of them, and he's going to make the throw. And he is a firm believer of let your playmakers make plays. And he puts it in a spot and says, go get it, and they get it. Like, he is awesome. And I think he deserves more love, but he comes in at number 4 here. Like, I saw Mel Kiper saying, Mel Kiper at 10. Like, maybe I'm missing something here, but I think, again, he is comfortably a top 5 quarterback in this draft class. But number 3, this might come as a surprise, but number 3, I have Fernando Mendoza. He went 8-15, 117, 2 touchdowns passing, had a rushing touchdown in there as well. 27 yards rushing against Purdue. Coldest game of the series history is the 100th meeting between the two schools. Coldest game, 24 degrees, Friday night. Freaking cold. Beautiful 18-yard pass to Elijah Surratt, back shoulder throw to the sideline. That's what Mendoza does best. He's the best back shoulder thrower in college football. We've talked about that 1,000 times. Had a 7-yard rushing touchdown in there as well, made a defender miss, cuts the outside, gets to the end zone. He also had a 20-yard run in there later in the game as well, in the second quarter, right before halftime. He was going to originally, I think it's Charlie Becker, on the underneath route. And unlike Carson Beck earlier, where he's like, oh shit, I shouldn't throw that, he actually doesn't throw it. And because it probably would have gotten picked off because Becker gets decked by the defender. And he tucks it down the field, runs, picks up 20 yards on the ground, gets a nice little gain. That's what we like to see. And a 43-yard passing touchdown to Cooper, which is all Omar Cooper. All Omar Cooper. Not the greatest throw of all time, but Cooper had a step or two on his defender. And Mendoza really underthrows the ball. And Cooper comes back to it and fights through the defenders to get easy is a wrong word, but end up getting a touchdown. But Mendoza, he comes in at number 3. Number 2, I have Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson comes in at number 2. 19 and 35, 122, 3 touchdowns, no picks. The 3 touchdowns were nice. All of them to Isaiah Horton. All good touchdowns, all short yardage touchdowns, all within 10 yards if I'm not mistaken. Because his first one was a 6-yard touchdown, then it was a 3-yard touchdown, and then I believe it was a 6-yard touchdown again. It's like all within 6 yards for 3 touchdowns. And one thing about Ty Simpson, which I love, is that he is not afraid to push the ball down the field. He's never been afraid to do that one time this entire season. But sometimes that fearlessness that I love, again, can hurt and causes the ball to kind of go awry at times. And the thing is, Ty Simpson's deep ball has struggled in recent weeks, and you could say struggled all year. It's those intermediate throws that he excels at. And I think that's the most important throws to make on the football field. And he is a good athlete as well. He had a 26-yard run on 3rd and 3 early on in the game in the first quarter. And Alabama got up early. And these 3 touchdown passes that he had, though they were from short yardage, he made great plays. Like his 6-yard touchdown pass to Horton in the first one of the game. He's backpedaling like freaking crazy. Waits for Horton to buy time in the end zone, or gives Horton enough time in the end zone before hitting him in the back of it for a 6-yard passing touchdown. 3-yard passing touchdown, more easy. I guess you could say Horton comes in motion, Ty Simpson fakes it, tosses it over the defender, easy touchdown for 3 yards out. He gets a nice little 16-yard pass to Horton again. Later in the game, fires it across the middle of the field to Horton with the defender screaming down in his face. Had another 8-yard run in there as well, made a couple defenders miss, getting around the outside to pick up a first on 3rd and 7. 6-yard passing touchdown. The end one is a nice throw, fitting in between a tight window of the Auburn defense. And Ty Simpson, I think, is really, really good. And this could be overreactionary, but the consistency throughout the course of the game, he can make, I think pound for pound, he makes the best throws out of the top quarterbacks in regards to leading receivers and not being afraid, again, to push the ball down the field, push the ball across the middle of the field, which I think is a very good trait to have of him. But the consistency these past couple weeks has not really been there. And I put him at 2. And number 1 is Dante Moore. I think this game against Washington was the best game he's had all season. I think it is. And it's one of the best games that I've watched on the season. He went 20 of 29, 286, 1 touchdown, no picks. Had 11 yards on the ground with a rushing touchdown. His first rushing touchdown of the season as well. And he showed emotion, which is something Dante Moore does not do a lot of. After he scored that touchdown, he was celebrating like freaking crazy when he scored that 1-yard touchdown run. But when it comes to throwing the ball, like throwing down the middle, Dante Moore can do that. He can do that in droves. But what separates him at this point was his ability to push the ball down the field, most notably down the sideline. Like you look at his 35-yard pass to Jeremiah McClellan on the first drive of the game. 3rd and 7 on a line. And that's the thing with Moore. What we talked about with Carson Beck and Darian Mensah and Cade Klubnik for throwing these deep balls and putting a lot underneath it. There was one pass that Dante Moore had in this game. It was a 41-yard pass to McClellan later in the game, 3rd quarter. He is in the end zone. This ball, he drops to Jeremiah McClellan right on the 40-yard line. And they said in the broadcast, I don't think this ball was more than 10 yards off the ground. He just ripped it in there. 40 yards on a line, perfectly thrown for a 41-yard gain. Dante Moore is the best at doing that in college football. Throwing it on a line. Throwing the ball deep on a line. And we've talked about that before this season. But you look at his 11-yard pass to Johnson as well. Defender in his face. Throws a really good back shoulder throw to the outside of the tight end. Like you got Kenyon Sadiq. Everybody knows about Kenyon Sadiq. Jamari Johnson is a very good tight end as well. Throwing across the middle of the field. Washington tries to look like they're showing a blitz. Looks like they're sending pressure. Linebacker drops back late, blocking the throwing laner. That's what you would think. And Dante Moore throws it right over top of him, rips it in there down the line to Jermari Johnson for the 18-yard gain. And you have a 31-yard pass to Johnson again. Kind of a similar thing, but a well-weighted pass this time to the outside to Johnson. Defender drops back late into coverage. Beautifully placed ball. 64-yard touchdown pass to Malik Benson. Safety shifts. Dante Moore sees that, adjusts the play at the line of scrimmage, looks around again, steps into the pocket, fires it to Malik Benson across the middle of the field, who's able to beat 4, 5, 6 Washington defenders to the end zone for a 64-yard touchdown. This game from Dante Moore was one of the best games I've seen this season. It was awesome. Some of the throws he was making down the field, and even across, like on the sidelines, down the middle of the field, were just fantastic throws. He's got a very good arm, and again, the best deep ball thrower out of the top guys in this class at this point in time. I think, again, you could go in any different direction with any of those three guys, but I think right now as the regular season ends, I would go Moore, Simpson, Fernando Mendoza at this point in time. And if I had to bet which one will get drafted first, I would probably say Mendoza has the best chance to go first overall out of the three guys. But I personally would say Dante Moore based off that performance. And not just that performance. It's not like he's been bad all year, then he had one showing, and then, oh my God, now he's number one. He's been in the top 3 damn near all season. Post-Northwestern game where he was number 5, he's been in the top 3 all season for the most part. And now I feel like he deserves a spot at number 1. It's not like Simpson and Mendoza didn't play great this past week. I don't think either one of them have been playing that great recently either. Let me talk about Mendoza's game against, or Ty Simpson's game against Eastern Illinois. I gave him some credit. I don't think Dante Moore did enough to push past Simpson on that one. But in this game against Auburn, though Simpson made some good throws, he went 19 of 35 for 122 yards. Yes, he had 3 touchdowns in the game, but they all came within 6 yards. Like with Moore, what he was doing in the game, I think warranted enough him to take that spot, but Simpson also lost the spot as well. And I've said that has to be a thing if you're going to change up in a spot. You have to lose the spot as well. And that's my top 10. So again, an honorable mention section, Trinidad Chambliss, again, only because I feel like he's going to go back to school. He's going to get that waiver. He's going to go to LSU. That's just the feeling right now. Then you got Nico Imaliava, Diego Pavia, Sawyer Robertson, and Lenora Sellers. Number 10, we have Cade Klubnik. Clemson's on a bye this week. They did not make the ACC championship game. Same with Josh Hoover at number 9 in TCU. Number 8, John Mateer. Oklahoma looks to have a spot in the playoff, all but locked up, but they do not play in the conference championship game. He drops 2 spots to 8. Carson Beck comes in at number 7. Miami not in the ACC championship game, despite them being the highest-ranked team in the conference. Then you got Darian Mensah. Him and the Duke Blue Devils in the ACC championship game against number 17, Virginia. If they win, Duke would be in the top of the playoff. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where like the rankings in the playoff are not the rankings nationally. It's just your seed. Like Duke's not going to go from unranked at 8-5 to number 12 in the country. That's not going to happen. But they would get in if they win this game, which I think would be absolutely insane. Number 5 is Brendan Sorsby. Bearcats did not make the Big 12 championship game, unfortunately. USC's quarterback Jaden Maava comes in at number 4. Number 3, Fernando Mendoza, taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Big 10 championship game this week. Battle number 1 versus number 2, 2 undefeated schools. Cannot wait. Number 2, Ty Simpson. Him and Alabama take on number 3, Georgia in the ACC championship game. Dread from it, run from it. The destiny arrives all the same. Georgia and Alabama will always play in the SEC championship game. And number 1 is Dante Moore from the Oregon Ducks. Good gracious. Long one, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I sincerely apologize. Try to be better next time. Make sure, again, to check out all the links down in the description below. Leave a comment down below on what you feel about, how you feel about these rankings, or if you love them, hate them, feeling different about them, what your rankings are, what you change, what you love, whatever. Let me know down in the description below. Check out the blog post, or in the comment section below. Check out the blog post in the description, as well as links to the podcast as well, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Most importantly, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And again, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I sincerely apologize again. Try to be better next time. And I've been Logan Blackman, and I will see you guys later. Peace.